And start recording. Okay. What's up, guys? It's Alex. And so, well, I know I'll probably on YouTube anyway. I've probably just uploaded my previous devlog, but something to keep in mind was that was originally uploaded to Vimeo, and that devlog was like, God, that devlog is like when I still lived in the other house I did. I don't even know how long. Let's go look at how long ago my last devlog was. So, excuse me. Let's log in. Let's log in. Alright, so my last devlog was 5 months ago. Needless to say, a lot has changed since then. So first of all, I've pretty much fleshed out my entity component system. I'm not using real ECS where you have, components are they're pieces of data, and a system is a actual, is what acts on all that data. It's just standard entities and components. So what else has changed since then? I've significantly changed the project structure from what it was before. Okay, so so I have a fleshed out entity system. So the scene will create an entity, and it'll add it to the scene's add list, and then every time you add a component, it'll call awake on that component. But whenever the scene or whenever the entity actually gets added to the scene, they will have start called, because then we can assume that all the components are there, and then get component calls and stuff like that will be safe to call. Awake can't guarantee that the components will be there. Right, and then there's just some rendering type stuff in here. But another thing is that all entities have physics properties. So you can set their initial velocity, whether or not they can update their physics, stuff like that. Parent-child relationships are recognized in this. Not, yeah, that's pretty much about as far as my entity system goes, I think. Garbage collection and all that stuff is handled by it. It doesn't really leak memory. There's only one spot where it leaks memory, and that's whenever I load this image specifically. I'm not really sure why, but it leaks a buttload of memory whenever I try to load JPEGs. Which, I mean, is whatever, I guess. I can fix that at some point later. So you have cameras, and you have lights, and you have rendering, and you have skybox components, which the skybox component I'm probably going to delete because the scenes themselves have skyboxes now. I also have my own fully fleshed out math library, or a little bit more fleshed out than I guess anyone else writing their own math library. So there's a quaternion. Man, I've got a sneeze coming up. Then there's a quaternion using double floating point precision numbers. Man, I'm really gonna sneeze. I should stop teasing. Then you have all that other stuff for quaternions, math functions, so normalization, matrix transformations, view matrices, projection matrices, all that sort of fun stuff. It's all configured correctly. Oh, so something else I've added is my shader compiler. So basically, you kind of put some metadata into your shader files, but what essentially happens is, so a problem I came across was in my materials, I didn't really have a way to define or to well define the vertex attributes and all that sort of stuff that was going to be applied to the mesh. This is just a really odd problem that I hadn't thought of in DirectX 12. So I figured out I can just add some parsing to my shader files. So everything tagged under resources is stuff that will eventually be bound by the by the CPU, so your shader tables and textures and stuff, where it will bind a table for all of it. So all these will be placed into a root signature. But another thing is my pipeline tag. So here I've fleshed this out a little bit more. So you can define like all sorts of different stuff. I know, very specific and well defined. But basically, like, you can define the entire pipeline state within the shader. So then, you don't get weird behavior that you have to jump back and forth. You can just jump into the shader and then just define the whole, like, all this stuff in the pipeline state that won't be default. And it will also go in here and parse your vertex shader inputs. So it will say, okay, I know that there's a position that's a float 3, like there's a position semantic that's a float 3, and then a normal semantic that's a float 3, and a binormal that's a float 3, and a tangent that's a float 3, and a text coordinate that's a float 2. And that sort of stuff, I guess. That's as far as that goes for now. I haven't really needed anything else. Again, the project structure has significantly changed. How it renders things has significantly changed too. So someone that is helping me out on this kind of pointed out that I need to kind of have like a well-defined render, so there has to be some kind of intermediate abstraction between the rendering and the scene, so for like simplicity and for clarity as to what's going on. So the renderer loop will get rendered by the scene, so basically it'll call all the components that are render components with the render update, and do all that sorts of fun stuff to them, and then the entities will tick. Let's see here, what else has changed. I have an irradiance map generator for my I have an irradiance map generator for all the skyboxes that you import in. That was a fucking pain in the ass to write, and it takes like 40 minutes to generate an irradiance map, even using all 6 threads, which is kind of painful. Let's see. D3D, what am I looking? Okay, math library. Okay, so another thing I've added is physics. So my physics is threaded. So essentially, you just create your physics world for the scene, and you just add bodies into it. Right now, it doesn't do anything crazy. All the bodies track is just their mass and initial velocity, and then it calculates their velocity after that, and where they are in the solar system. So I'm going to go ahead and run it and give a little demo of what it will currently do. Oh, another thing is, so my shaders are now pre-compiled. Let's jump into here. So my shaders will get compiled basically to a one JSON that will, basically just give out the whole pipeline state for the, graphics state that they describe. So deferred lighting, dot GFX file, and then it defines the whole pipeline state, and the input layout. Don't really think anything else is going on here that's too crazy. And then there's like a whole binary file for each one. So let's open this one up. Yes, I want to open it. And it's just a binary file. But as you can see, it's a one-to-one simulation. Sorry about that. But yeah, as far as all that goes, it's the current state of my little game, and I hope to see y'all next time.